We're Warhammer 40.
Oh, there it goes.
No, it's a bit off. It's a bit off. It's a bit off. God damn it.
You didn't fix John's name either.
I know.
Is it HN?
Hey, welcome to Grip After Dark, Warhammer 40,000's only late night show. For some reason, my name is John, no H, and I'm here to misinform and entertain as we talk about the goings-on over the last week in the world of Warhammer. Tonight, we're going to dive deep into the drivel of the internet as we go around the net. We're going to take a look at White Dwarf magazine, the magazine industry in general, and we don't have a game because I spend the weekend setting up an office. But before we go on, if you enjoy what you see, or if you enjoy me being introduced 3 or 4 times, you can support us by liking or subscribing wherever it will let you. And if you're able to, throw a couple dollars our way by becoming a member on YouTube or super chatting the answer to this question. Shit, I don't know. What's Val's real name? Anyway.
Oh, come on.
Wow.
It's Val. Let's meet the team. Let's meet the team. First up, he's the co-host with the co-most. He's our competitive 40K champion all the way from Moscow, Idaho. It's Daniel J. McDevitt.
Bring some energy, Danny.
A third.
He is the beautiful face of most things square-based. He's a fantasy enthusiast and a casual 40K fornicator. It's Val Heffelfinger.
What? Why are you making me want to turn off the show?
He's the man behind the curtain. He pits the cooch in Canada. It's superstar producer, Tech Priest Dickie.
I don't know if superstar is the right word I would use.
Dickie, you never moved the desk back either, did you?
I did. The pictures lined up.
Yeah.
I did.
Yeah.
Well, why am I so encroached into John's airspace?
Because
you got a big
you're
head.
just you got to make me lean this way.
I feel like Danny's TV is more to the right than it usually is. Normally the butt is like off screen a bit more.
I can move everybody.
Yeah.
Like
You
the
can.
show. Why not?
Feel free to move me around, Dickie.
Just move us
fine.
around.
You
There's
can just
no-
move me. Yeah, keep going.
There's no better podcast audio
There we go.
content
Beautiful.
and
No,
discuss
There you go. That's
going.
it. That's it.
Keep
how
going.
the things. It's a paraphrase, Val. Give it like when you change scenes, it's just going to go back. So why are we even arguing about it? But gents, Dickie, how
God,
would
you were a lot more alive in the pre-show. What happened? Was it just the fat fingering that really took the air out of your sails?
Yeah.
What happened there?
Sorry about that.
You get tired?
Am I tired? I'm exhausted. It's been a
No.
long
Did you
weekend.
get tired from having to reintroduce yourself several times?
I mean,
Yeah, you did it twice. Let's
I've
not
now-
get over. Wait, come on.
Twice is several.
I've
just
now
saying, that
introduced
definition-
myself. What have we been doing this like 2.5 years now? So like 120 times. I'm really hoping at one point it sticks. You guys remember who I am. But this
We've
week,
never had lower thirds, so quite genuinely, no one knows who any of us are.
We had it for like 2 minutes.
I have
We
to
had it
ask
for-
you to reintroduce yourself every time I see you, like every Monday evening. So.
you're like, oh, is this the guest? And I'm like, you.
Oh, I'm Danny. Nice to meet you.
I will say I got to do that this weekend. It's my favorite bit, Danny, with one of our mutual friends, Eric.
Fantastic.
My favorite bit I do with literally any person is every time I see him, I pretend it's the first time I've met him, and I think I've done this for 5 years now. And it's
For Eric or for Brad Chester? Because they're both pretty funny.
I think I did Eric first, but Brad Chester I also, and I think probably in the current climate, it's probably best if I pretend that I don't know who he is. But no, I'm kidding. But yeah, I think with Brad Chester, it's just every time I go up to him, I'm like, hey man, I really love your work. My name's John, big fan. And I shake his hand and I walk away, and I've done that every time I've seen him for the past few years.
And then he probably also responds to you in a fashion that suggests that he has no idea who you are.
Well, no, he doesn't until he was like, who's this weird guy who keeps introducing himself to me?
Who's the 9-foot tall guy who never remembers me?
I think the best part was at LVO last year when he was just like, oh, you piece of shit, don't. And I'm like, hey, man, Brad Chester, right? Big fan. But I will never stop. It's my favorite joke, and Danny will tell you better than anyone. The reason I make jokes funny is I don't give up on them.
Never give up.
Keep on going.
That's
You're
why
gonna
we're still
keep
here,
up
guys.
with that Idaho joke for like probably
Idaho's
another
great.
year.
Yeah. It's probably a year. Oh, well, it's only been in the official script for about 2 months, but I still love it every time, just because of that slight cringe, which is getting less. I'm going to have to change it up a little bit. But anyway, Val,
Yes.
you had something very important that you wanted to talk about. You said, like, in this Warhammer 40,000 late night show, we haven't talked about something for a couple of weeks.
My Warhammer Fantasy event.
Yeah, actually, John, can I talk about this for a second?
Yeah,
Because
for sure.
like when we sat down this evening,
Yeah.
Val looked at us both in our eyes and he's like, look, you guys, I haven't gotten to talk about my fantasy event at all, and it's more important than literally anything else that we're doing on the show. So
Wow.
it's really
The biggest
Well,
Warhammer Fantasy.
it would seem conspicuously, not even mentioned. Like
will say-
it's kind of a big deal. I mean, people are flying from all over the world. It's huge.
It is the biggest Warhammer Fantasy tournament in North America in the last week of November, by far.
significantly.
I mean,
so
you
I
might
would
be
say.
able to expand that. I actually have no idea how big fantasy events get because none of them are on BCP because there's no category for them.
No.
Because it's a dead game. Got it.
Literally every game on
Wow.
planet Earth has a category in BCP except for fantasy. But,
Doesn't even have WAP. Maybe they got sued by Megan the Stallion.
maybe.
maybe. I don't know. I was running a little fantasy event. It's pretty exciting. I'm very, very enthused
Man.
about it. Danny's mad at me because I keep asking him to come, and he keeps reminding me that it's Thanksgiving. By the way, happy Thanksgiving, everybody!
Oh, yeah, it's Canadian Thanksgiving today.
That's right.
Wait, I don't have. Oh, Dickie, do you have the bumper? Find the Canadian bumper with the kazoo theme so that we can properly celebrate
We have a
Canada.
Canadian bumper.
We do. We have the Canadian state of play
Right.
bumper.
Is it in French at least?
No,
Actually, it's French and English.
Yeah, just-
ideally, that way we can still be monetized in Canada.
That's fair. That's fair. But we were joking about it, but you do have like a superstar turnout, right? I mean, who's who
Of Warhammer Fantasy.
of Warhammer Fantasy, even the content creator scene are going to be at the place where you were conceived, Val.
Where I was not. Well, I mean, it was a few steps in the flowchart before my conception. But yes, my parents did in fact meet at the Mini Wargaming bunker long before it was Mini Wargaming. Still a bunker, but yeah, no, man,
Well,
it's just
the
I'm
hunker
really
bunker.
excited about it. We've got some cool people. I used internet bullying to get Steve the Mountain at Mountain Miniatures, famous.
Did that finally work?
Yeah, it worked. He agreed. Him and Luca are going to play.
Oh.
We're hopefully going to stream it on Mountain Minis. Rob's going to be pissed about that, I'm sure, because he'll say he wants to stream it, but I just
Why
want him
don't
to
you
play.
both stream it?
Yeah, we'll just have competing fantasy streams. That's a great
You
idea.
should have signed that contract to
Yeah,
log
we should-
yourself into those streams.
Also, we should have only cheat dice on stream. Like just like all the dices only rolls. Only
Like,
roll
all-
ones and sixes, or only have sixes and fives.
Like these are the
because it's
stream
gonna be
dice.
wild.
There's a set of 30 dice. 2 of them only roll 6s or 5s.
Like-
So just use them randomly.
Would that make it'd be funny if like your dice could only possibly roll 6s, 5s, and 1s?
I
I
know.
wonder what impact that would have on the game ultimately.
Take this leadership test and tell me.
Yeah,
Exactly.
shooting is like the most powerful thing in the game.
So yeah, it's gonna be a blast. I'm very excited about it.
That's cool.
We got Adam Camilleri's coming. We got Peter the Falcon Colossimo. He's the TO. He's gonna be the judge. He's gonna be which is I think really funny that he's gonna be the one grumbling at people with really arcane, because like a 40K TO essentially doesn't do anything anymore. They just stand by while people are mean to each other.
That's not true. They tell you to show them in the rule book where it says that. And then they're like, yeah, right there. And then they
Right
walk away.
But like a fantasy TO, they're making plays all over the goddamn field. They are sweating. They are looking at previous precedent. They are looking for FAQ documents. It is a lot. They're gonna be sweating.
Will you provide Pete an official protractor to make sure the wheels are the exact correct angle?
I was thinking for swag, I might try and get like those. There's like army painter laser lines.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I was
That'd be
thinking for swag, I would get a bunch of those. 'Cause they're actually pretty inexpensive. So
When
maybe
you
I
reach
get
out-
my friend Adam Bramowitz over at the army painter to Hook us up
When
with
you
some of
reach
those.
out to Army Painter about sponsoring your tournament, you might want to let them know that you have a podcast that will sell out literally like right away
anything.
for anything.
You guys want Army? Like, I'm sure he would fucking.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sure,
dude,
he'd
maybe
support the
ask.
show.
You should
Yeah,
ask.
literally all I have. Like, he's a
All-
generous and warm soul, and I'm sure would help out a lot of content creators if they asked him.
All I know is I can't recommend a paint because no one's paying me to do it.
Speed Paint
So
2.0 looks like the business, man. It looks good.
It's
Not gonna lie.
good.
we
Yeah.
can't say that yet legally because
God, I really want to,
we
though.
don't know.
Yeah, but right
I
now
know.
it's meaningful because, like, I still autopilot to the Citadel range. Like, I just can't stop myself from
Yeah.
buying Citadel paints, and I know Speed Paint 2.0 is so good.
That
So
metallic is so good, dude. That speed paint metallic is so good.
If you want a paint job of the week section where we make Danny paint because none of the rest of us will, sponsored by the Army Painter, let Val know by attending his fantasy tournament Thanksgiving weekend in Canada, but like American Thanksgiving. We're going to move on to this week's comment of the week.
Let's go.
Always brought to you by our friends at Frontline Gaming. They are open 24/7 at frontlinegaming.org, and all your GW products are available at a discounted price, or better yet, buy it even cheaper through their secondhand store. And guys, I need help with this week's comment from Ramon Rivera because I'm very confused. He says, OMG, it's RPC at 104. And what I did is I actually put a clip. This is a little picture of what happened on the video at 104. Danny, my question is, how can you make a joke about my hairline with the initials RPC?
What does the RPC mean?
I have no idea.
So
It's
RPC's pulling me back and kind of triggering me a bit for my days as a call center manager, because RPC stands for Right Party Contact. That's when we were doing outbound calls. That's how we would code them. So I just got a cold shiver run to the base of my spine from when I was doing quality monitoring of outbound phone calls about various finance things. So Right Party Contact, don't know.
Oh my God, it is the Right Party Contact at 104. Danny, you want to take a stab at this?
Yeah, it's what this stands for is
I'm just going to copy the pose. Let me just pull the microphone up.
receding pubic hair cock. That's what that stands for.
I like that I have both the away and the home versions of this top in frame right now.
I mean, it's a widow's peak still. I mean,
but receding pubes, bigger shaft. Well, actually, small shaft still, because the center still sticks out and it just makes your hip look bigger. I don't like that, Danny. I don't like that at all.
What does it stand for, John? Do you know?
I have no idea. This comment confuses me so much.
Ramon, what does it mean?
Too embarrassed to reply with, "What are you talking about?"
Well, does chat know? Because I feel like somebody has to know what this stands for.
Is he in chat now?
Who knows?
Help us out?
The only people in chat,
Mystery.
I would assume, are Val and possibly Dickie.
Is he?
No, we had Nurgle
Dickie.
Matthew as well.
Yeah, we got all sorts of
Very
people.
racist in chat. Don't read it.
It's
There.
not me, guys. I want you to know that this isn't me. It's look at Danny's focusing on typing right now. It's Danny.
What? No, I'm not.
Danny.
No,
100%
come
Danny.
on. Perfect. Let's get down to business, guys. Let's go. It's time to go around the net.
So stop. It's
No one's
I would
going anywhere.
apologize to chat about what Dickie's saying. That's okay.
Oh, John.
So welcome to Around the Net, where the part of the show where we dive deep into the dank drivel the internet provides. And this week, as always, we got quite a bit to cover. The first one I want to bring up here is something I found. It might not necessarily be Warhammer related, but it is Halloween. So it says, gentle reminder to all my content creator friends for October. Don't use the word spook or spooky to describe your themed celebrations. It's a slur. The
What?
end. No argument.
What? Spooky?
Yep. Here are 400 plus other scary themed words you can use. And then it has a helpful link for that.
I got bad news.
What are some of the other spooky words, guys, that we can use that don't insult others, like spook or spooky?
I mean, I'm currently reading up on this.
I want to say terrifying, but I just think that that's like Terry's just get a real bad rap.
Well, you're allowed to say that.
Terriers.
You know a Terry.
What can we say instead of spooky?
Yeah, actually, I want to just to be respectful to this content creator, even because I don't want to make it seem like I'm making fun of this genuine post that I found.
Oh, come
Dickie,
on,
do you want to bring up the spooky counter?
Here, let me just make one quick edit, though.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, there you go.
All right, awesome. So we can't say the word spooky because every time we say the word spooky, the spooky counter will increase.
Okay.
Or it won't. It should be.
You just tell me. So I'll go. Oh, wait.
Can we just have a discussion about this for real for a second? So, like,
Yeah,
I get like that spook can be used as a slur for sure.
Right.
Racial slur. That's, I think, could definitely be triggering for some. However, it has a lot of other uses in language. Spook can also refer to like a intelligence operative. Spook
Sure.
can refer obviously to something that is scary or haunting. Spook. My parents literally had a dog named Spooky. Are they racists? I don't think so. I think this is certainly a word in which context very much matters.
Yeah.
And
want to
spook.
point out.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I do want to point out, Val, they did say no argument. What you seem to have presented is an argument.
He's got you there. He makes a really good point, Val.
I do. Thank you. A real lawyer told me I made a good point.
This is antiquated, though. I think the modern terminology for this doesn't really quite match this level of.
Danny, do you have something to add to the spooky debate?
God damn it.
John, I'm not opposed to, using the word spooky when it's appropriate. And Halloween is probably the most important time for someone who's a fan of spooky things or spooky objects or spooky people or spooky costumes. Like, I think that it's really a good way to I think otherwise this term gets underutilized over the course of the year. This is the spooky time of the year.
Spooky season.
Yeah, spooky season. Thank you. So I just like somebody maybe to take a second and don't think about spooky as the slur. Think about spooky the word. And how would you feel if you were a word and you didn't get used all the time?
That's fair. What it appears to me after all of this is when I asked Dickie to make me a spooky counter without him knowing why I was doing it.
Yeah.
His technology for doing it was a simple text box. So every time you say the word spooky, he has to delete a number and then come forward. So if we were just to keep saying spooky through this, we're making Dickie like concentrate more on this show than he ever has. And that would spook anyone.
I just have to feel like I just feel like that, like, if we were to look at the Google Trends on spook, that we would see it spiked. Like I highly doubt even racists were using this term in a racist fashion since like the 60s or 70s. I think it's like an out of fashions racial slur.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty up to date. Like, I try and stay, on top.
Turn on your slurs.
I try and discriminate as I possibly can.
And I know this is a show with 4 white guys, and this just feels. I mean, I don't know. This feels like a reach, because like there's all kinds of like things in common language, especially up here in Canada, that we have like I would say prejudiced origins, or are just flat, like a lot of anti-Irish slurs in Canadian jargon. Mickey, Paddy Wagon, spooky McPaddy Wagons. So like there's a lot of things that sort of sneak into the nomenclature that do have bad origins. This was a term for ghosts, apparitions that was then applied grossly to black people, and that sucks. But I don't think that means that it needs to be on the banned list.
No.
Right.
I will say as well, when people ask me why the podcast isn't more popular, maybe the 5 minutes we spend causing Dickie extreme stress by talking about something and having him doing an on-screen counter about a word that has literally nothing to do with Warhammer.
Right.
The OP would also probably be pleased that the spooky counter literally cost us our bumper, the intro to the show.
And
And
destroyed the show.
and I'm betting that we're not even broadcasting or recording right now.
We're
So
doing both those things. You're fine.
certainly not recording locally. That's the for sure. Let's move on. Let's keep that counter up though, because Dickie, I
Yep.
want you to make sure that we're being respectful.
Yep, understood.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah,
oh well, I mean, he's spooked right now. Like,
I would say.
Congratulations
say.
on 20. Yeah.
We're heading to the old world where the spookiest things happen, but not right now.
I hope you're ready
this
for a
next
whole
one
army
here?
of ghosts.
Oh, this guy here says, after Disney destroying SWA, I was looking around for good sci-fi fantasy. I found Warhammer and feel saved.
what's a bad sign?
Reading Horus Heresy series and the lore is fantastic. Anyone have any reading links about the creative team behind this? All movie franchise have been ruined, so I am thankful for these books.
This guy says spooky all the time.
Danny, my question for you on this is,
way.
what does this person have against the Fast and the Furious?
I don't know, John. That's a great question. I really couldn't answer that. You know, it's spooky to me how often we end up in these situations where you know, these people they want to equate 40K to like this unruined virgin like kind of like franchise, like, and it has lots of problematic things in it too. If
That's
you want to get
unfortunately that is the feature, not the bug here. This is a guy like I wish there were more
right,
you know, earnest
Yeah.
fascists in my science fiction
you're
literature.
probably right. Yeah.
Val, do you think Disney destroyed Star Wars more
Always.
or less than Caravan of Courage and the Star Wars Christmas special did?
Well, I mean, Star Wars was born to die, to be disparaged and ruined. It was, look, Disney didn't release the prequels. Okay, Disney didn't make the Phantom Menace. So you know, whatever. Who gives? Like they've made good things, at least in the universe.
Fantastic movie about taxation on
that
an
movie.
intergalactic scale.
I believe that was probably
Danny,
more in the
you
second one.
looked incredulous when Val started talking there.
Oh, I was interested. I didn't know what Caravan of Courage was.
Caravan
And
of
so I had to
Courage.
look it up, and I have seen this
Yeah.
movie before, several times actually. Great movie.
Great movie. Fantastic. They got someone who looked sort of like Luke Skywalker, put him in an X-Wing suit, and then had him nowhere near planes. And then, yeah, if you haven't seen it, go on to YouTube. It's there somewhere after this, obviously, because we like the ad revenue. But Caravan of Courage, great. Danny, I'm going to follow up with this one as well, where he says that I reading Horus Heresy series and the lore is fantastic. Anyone have any reading links by the creative team behind this? What book do you think it is that ruins this series for him?
Well, I don't know if he's read Nemesis yet, so but yeah, probably that.
Probably Nemesis.
Yeah.
I was not a fan of Fulgrim, but that's just me.
Oh, I like Fulgrim.
Yeah, it was okay.
Moving on. Now, this one I had, the last slide was like, Damn You Disney. This one is called Damn You Games Workshop. It's a little bit of a conversation. Some guy says, I've never seen any of the Kung Fu Panda films, which someone replies, it's funny because the first Kung Fu Panda practically parallels the fall of Horus and his relationship with the Emperor, where someone said, stop that. As in, no. The best part is Graham McNeil, Black Library author extraordinaire, said, no lies detected. Danny, were you aware that Kung Fu Panda paralleled the fall of Horus and his relationship with his father, the Emperor?
No,
I feel
wasn't.
a little foolish that you don't realize that, you know,
Yeah,
Horus
no,
had
tell
little
me. No,
action
explain to me
figures.
the link here, John, because I'm confused. Like you as a scholar of this particular
Scholar.
subject, I'd love to hear your interpretation of this.
Well, you can't interpret Kung Fu Panda because you just have to feel it. Essentially, Horus, like the Emperor wants Horus to be the War Master and kind of all these other things and take over the galaxy. Horus doesn't want to be a noodle chef. he wants to go and be a great kung fu master. So he goes up to the top, and he kind of tries and joins the Furious Seven, which is what they called like Fulgrim and Magnus and like all of these other people. And in the end, they beat up a panther, and that's the Siege of Terra.
Was the panther? Was the snow leopard? It was a snow leopard, by the way. But was he supposed?
I'm
to
sorry.
represent-
Are you doing the literature degree?
No, I've seen Kung Fu Panda before. I just wanted to correct a technical inaccuracy. Now,
so in Scotland, we just call them panthers.
oh, okay. Just everything all together, like a cat. That's just a panther.
Just a panther. House cat, house panther. So what other guy, and then Val, Dickie, I know you guys have kids. Danny, I know you have a great knowledge of movies. What other movies have inspired Warhammer content? So if Kung Fu Panda is just the fall of Horus, what would say Shrek be?
Shrek specifically?
Yeah, or other movies you can think of.
Shrek is kind of like when Lorgar goes into the Eye of Terror for the first time.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Farquaad's castle is the Eye of Terror.
I mean, if we're going to talk about spooky slurs, I think Farquaad sounds like it's a slur. I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty
an
sure
ironic
Farquaad,
name.
somewhere, someone heard the word Farquaad was like, what?
Yeah.
You stupid
Disgusting.
Farquaad. Yeah. Okay. I'm in.
Okay, you got that. Crip Shadow in chat saying Die Hard. What Warhammer story would you relate to Die Hard? Because I would really love to. Oh, maybe that's how Lysander escaped.
Caiaphas Cain. Caiaphas Cain. What was that guy? He feels like a bit of a John McClane. Reluctant hero.
I just want to see Lysander, the Imperial Fist guy who escaped like the Eye of Terror, like doing it by crawling through vents and jumping in elevator shafts. So totally. just the denting of the shaft, the air shaft from the giant Terminator armor would be fantastic. Lion, Panther, Leopard are all big cats. Yeah, thank you for helping me out here, Dorian. I want to share. Alaska had its annual grand tournament with a whole ton of players competing over this weekend.
Okay.
I, of course, didn't go because I refused to play out of many reasons. One of which is this next slide here. I want to say Battlezone Ursa, Alaska's premium GT, is actually brought to you by Ghost Energy Drink.
Okay.
And on this, Val, I want to ask you, why don't we have an energy drink sponsorship?
Well, this looks like it was photoshopped together. I won't lie. I'm just going to say that it doesn't look real to me.
Hold on.
Yeah.
All right. I'm confused, John. That looks like a huge Sour Patch Kid.
That is too much sour. And it's more of a Sour Patch Man, really, as far as the scale is
Or
concerned.
Sour Patch Toddler, maybe. I don't know. Or Adolescent.
I would say this is just like a spooky little Ghost Energy drink. And this is not photoshopped. It is actually the legit setup they had to show Ghost Energy.
Yeah, I mean, that little guy is giving me the spooks right now.
Yep, absolutely is. I know we wouldn't fake it. But is Ghost Energy what players crave? Or is it just weird, creepy little
Depends. Are the players racist? Because that, without a doubt, is a spooky energy drink.
Well, it is Alaska, so
is there a salmon flavored Ghost Energy drink? Because that would really play well.
If there was, please sponsor us with it, but it would also be awful at the same time.
Seriously, was this photoshopped together, or is this actually real? Because like there are so many elements that do not seem real.
Actually real. What does not seem real?
Well, the very large Sour Patch guy. The banner in the front of the desk doesn't look like it's actually there.
Nope. It's I'm zooming in here. That's him right there. This is not photoshopped at all. You can tell. I mean, local stores will sell you Frontline Gaming mats. But our good friends at Frontline Gaming will do that too. And they have 3 on display right on top of that table right there. But not photoshopped.
Okay.
Falcon Hunter in chat letting us know it's got electrolytes, and plants love electrolytes.
That's what they crave.
And Nurgle Matt coming in agreeing with you too. We can't make this up, Valerie. Do you think I would waste all of my time to Photoshop something that doesn't get even so much as a chuckle?
That's not what Val's name is short for, is Valerie, right?
No, Val is short for Valfred.
Oh, interesting.
It's a vampire count.
When my full name was written on my wedding invitation, one of my in-laws approached me at a cocktail party and said, "So what are you, a fucking vampire?"
You're like, fuck, I got found out.
How'd that feel? It felt like I was punching above my weight, and it was pretty good.
Danny, I'm going to need your help with this next slide here. It contains friend of the show, Taylor, and them playing their second game of Warhammer for the day right here. What are we looking at?
So it appears, and just judging by the distance that Taylor's glasses are down their nose, like it makes me kind of, I just know that they're frustrated. They're mad.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh, furious.
It was one of the funniest things I'd ever seen. So I had to work that weekend, so sadly I wasn't able to make the GT, but I dropped by with my 4-year-old son to kind of check things out, see how they're going, support the local scene, and I dropped by to talk to Taylor. And this interaction at the table made me so uncomfortable that I just took a quick picture and left without saying hello. Essentially, what happened was his opponent demanded that he rolled all dice within the purple dice tray and none without the purple dice tray.
Yeah.
Taylor's defense to this, Danny, which if you could comment on Taylor's defense as well, I play pretty fast and loose.
Solid. That's really, if you want your opponent to have some buy-in on your I'm not cheating, I promise. Like, I play fast and loose though, so
it's gonna be difficult.
So, but also I know how Taylor rolls dice, and it's hard. Like the hardest dice rolling you've ever seen in your life. Like throwing, and dice are flying everywhere off this table.
I think about an hour of their game was probably collecting dice from the floor after it bounced off of the tray.
Yeah.
Huh.
At the very least. So let's talk about little psychological things that might affect your gameplay and kind of how to move past it.
My first question here is, why isn't the dice tray on the hazard stripes a little closer to the action?
Well, our friends at frontlinegaming.org make these fantastic hazard stripes to make your regular mats like the new table size. And there's no way you would cover those high quality HD designs.
Wait a minute, really? That is an FLG thing?
That's an FLG thing. So remember back in the old days when you had the 4x6 map, they made those little rollouts so you could.
You mean like the two 6x4 mats double-sided that I just ordered from GameMat.eu that are 6x4? Yes, indeed.
They don't sponsor us, File. Not cool. Yeah,
we haven't collected a check from Frontline since we went independent.
Let's talk to our finance guy about that. Who's
Is that me?
Guy? That's you.
Yeah. Someone needs to remind me to put it on the whiteboard.
Put it on the whiteboard. But yeah, so they make those things to kind of go around there. And I think the reason it wasn't on there was because at the time, Taylor didn't recognize they needed to roll all of the dice in that little container.
Is this Taylor?
It is.
This is an angle of him that I've never seen. I would never have guessed that this was him.
So I'm confused. Maybe you can clear this up. So not only did his opponent say, "I'm going to be rolling in this dice box," but you have to roll it as well in the dice box.
Oh my god!
Right?
That's a bit.
I
off.
would just straight up tell my opponent to fuck off.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, I'm not going to do that. No thanks. I don't have to use your stupid tool if I don't want to.
Yeah, so I have a dice box, but I don't force other people to use it. I'm just like, hey man, I roll dice everywhere, and it's just a lot easier if I just roll it in this one little area. But you can use whatever you want. So that's kind of a dick move.
This is when you bring out that you'll agree to his terms as long as there's a communal dice box that neither of you own, because you don't trust the magnet technology that's in the purple and black dice trays.
There's no way I'm trusting that dice tray without a lot of water testing and making sure
water testing a dice tray.
Got to cover it all. You got to spray it with Windex to really make sure.
Just an attention to production. I have an emergency addition to the slideshow. Emergency addition to the slideshow. I posted it to the Discord. Over.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh my god, yeah. I will say though, Danny, like these things happen more than often than not at the table where if you're playing, especially sort of at a big event like a GT or a major, where you'll be matched up with an opponent and they'll have an expectation of the game or how the game should go that doesn't necessarily match up with your own. What do you do in those situations to make sure that you're still good? Because you were stuck there for 3 hours.
Yeah.
Like, how do you approach something where you're like, I don't want to do this, but at the same time have a good experience and still move on?
Oh, you just don't, John. You just don't have a good experience. You kind of bite your tongue and you just let somebody be salty at you for 2 hours. If you want to win, if you don't really care, then you can quit the game if you want, or you can have a real honest conversation with them about their behavior.
This feels like when someone demands that I don't use the word spook or spooky.
Yeah.
Where you kind of have to.
Where does the counter go?
Oh,
I'll
fix it.
You kind of. I think you have to. Pardon me. Consider.
Production value really low here.
Yeah.
Sorry,
I think
guys.
you have to. I think you have to like take a moment to see where the person's coming from. You have to. You have to lead with empathy, and then you need to.
Tell them to fuck off.
Then you need to remember your own personal, both racial and gender privilege, and not comply. I think that's clearly the way forward.
Crip Shadow and chat letting us know that they like the Rule 34 Necron. This directly comes from last week's comment from chat that there wasn't enough big titty miniatures on the show anymore.
Yeah,
and
We're trying to give the people what they want.
we're trying to.
We're doing our best.
this was from Val.
What was wrong? Oh.
I thought rather on point.
Frontline Gaming, not respecting Spooktober the way it should be.
There you go.
It's beautiful, but yeah, like I said, I think the important thing is, especially these games, you're going to be playing a lot of people that you have never played and probably will never play again, and just having that good experience and just making sure you're having that game as good as possible and not letting one thing tilt you to the point of getting you sort of off of your game plan. Danny, has anything happened at the table for you where it's just kind of totally ruined how you were going to play the game because you just got so mad about it? No. Have you seen it happen?
I don't really get tilted. Not at somebody else. Just at my shitty dice rolls.
I would say, at the very least, here's something I would say about this particular situation. Like that's at least a nice dice box. I mean, I've had people present me with a dice box or a dice rolling tray that is just like very small and awkward, and then they demand to reroll dice that are out of that dice tray or dice box. Also, I feel like the dice tray thing, I don't know how I feel about it. I like if someone demands that we play on a clock, Hondo P. But I feel like there's definitely ways to roll on a table that are within complete view of your opponent on the up and up, if a dice were to be rolled out of sight and you pick it up quick, that is on you, and probably should be re-rolled, something like that.
Yeah.
I feel like dice rolling on the table is not, to me, as much of a competitiveness. Like dice rolling in a tray is not as much of a competitive necessity at most levels as, say, a chess clock.
Oh, yeah. So we have someone in chat here, Danny. Maybe you can answer for your crimes. Alex for 22 said, I've watched Danny fling a plastic model off the table, and when someone questioned him about it, he explained how these new plastics are bouncy and they won't break. This was like 2011. He proceeded to do it again and broke his model.
Yep. So it was actually Finecast. And we were just getting Finecast into the shop, and I was trying to show people that maybe it's maybe a little bit better than metal.
Oh no.
And then I disappointed myself when I broke a Cryptek. After I dropped him on the ground from the table height 3 times in a row. He broke on the 3rd try.
Okay.
Oh, that's pretty good.
That's better than most 3D prints, for sure.
Yeah, that's true. Moving on, we have this here. I call this Ace of Base. So we're talking about basing schemes. Danny, Val, how do people get this lava effect?
That is a marshmallow.
It's
There's
not a
got to be a
marshmallow.
marshmallow.
I don't think it's marshmallow.
It's not a marshmallow.
Oh, wait a minute. No, those are cookies of some kind.
Yeah, you got to dry brush black over the top of the red, John.
Damn, those are absolutely beautiful looking cookies. I will say, my fat ass, when this came up on my Facebook feed, I looked at that and I was like, how did they do that lava base? And I'm like, oh,
Great.
Why am I hungry?
why am I hungry? No, those are cookies. Which now is how I will stick it to Games Workshop by not using official bases and just using cookies from here on out.
Oh,
Yeah, see, that's how you stick it to the
clever.
man.
Mm-hmm.
The next slide here is from the Bastard Beast, who said, Rouge Trader isn't Warhammer, and only a dishonest, lying leftist says that. Dickie, if you could pull up the next slide while we discuss it here. Danny, Val, is Rogue Trader actually Warhammer or not?
Well, I mean, by definition, it seems like it is. I mean, if I had to take a guess, it sure looks to me like Warhammer 40,000 Rogue Trader would make the cut as qualifying as Warhammer.
Yeah. Or Warhammer Rogue 40,000 Traders.
Yeah. So
Stock
you
market
can read
again.
it that way. Also, it could just be a game set in the universe of Warhammer 40,000,
Yeah.
not necessarily Warhammer 40,000,
Yeah.
like Epic or Necromunda.
Mm-hmm. Or Blood Bowl.
Yeah, well, sure, Blood Bowl. Yeah, that's a great example of 40K. Yeah, thank you, Val.
But it is Warhammer. It is Warhammer.
True. Moving on, we have this beautiful thing we found in competitive 40K, the best place on Facebook to argue about things that are probably wrong. It says here, so rules is written, right? No arguments if it's in black and white. We see a picture of the Storm Blades data sheet from the app that shows that it has 9 feet of movement. Guys, what kind of person would show you this and be like, see, it's official. It moves 9 feet.
Oh, Jesus.
Now, I'm pretty sure that it doesn't normally have inches. Like, what does it normally have inches
It
on
does.
most movement characteristics? Really?
Yeah.
Well, they done fucked up. Looks like you got unlimited movement, Stormblade.
I think it's pretty clear if it's the only thing in the game that has a distance measured in feet rather than inches, that maybe that's not the intention of the writers.
Now, it does have a limited movement. It is limited to 106 inches. Or 118. I don't
Pretty
do
slow,
math. Whatever.
Honestly, yeah, compared to a plane.
Yeah. What would you do, Danny, with 9 foot of movement on a Stormblade if you were playing this model?
God. John, if I had 9 feet of movement in real life, I would be a totally different person.
Oh,
That was a bon mot, Danny. Excellent.
beautiful. Would you take a Stormblade if it had 9 feet of movement?
No, because it doesn't have 9 feet of movement.
That kind of goes away from the conceit of the question where if it did.
Also, does 9 feet exceed the range of an Earthshaker cannon? I don't even think it does.
That's 172 inches, I think.
Yeah, I thought it was 240.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's wild.
that's
I have to look.
spooky.
So you can't even get out of range with it. So
Nope.
No,
you're not that
No.
OP, Stormblade.
nope. It's funny. I've said spooky twice now.
Oh,
Instead of saying
sorry.
31, the spooky
Not even
counter,
paying
which should say
attention to anything.
32. Perfect. Moves on. Next up here, Dickie Ketchup. We can't just change text and not move slides
I gotta change text and do all the things. Okay, go.
This is from a while ago, but Warhammer official asked, how many hammers are there in Warhammer 40,000? I'm asking the panel, how many hammers are there?
Like models with hammers or hammers like I don't
I've been
The
watching a
question needs to
lot
be
of
clarified.
Taskmaster, so I'm just going to respond with all of the information is on the panel.
okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
First of all, I would just
Yes.
want to compliment Warhammer Official for making my brain cramp with the Sainapa une pipe style. This is not a drill.
With a picture of a
a
hammer.
hammer. I like
Pretty
it.
good.
It's pretty good. And I would say there are in fact no true Warhammers in Warhammer 40,000 because we all know that Galmaraz is the one true Warhammer, and it is wielded by the Emperor of a certain Germanic allegory in the old world.
Yeah. Danny, do you want to stab at an actual answer, or you want to talk about the old world more?
Man, I really like Almoraz. Like, it is one of my favorite magic items in any setting.
Pretty
It's
dope.
really cool. Yeah.
Pretty dope.
Automatically wounds, no armor saves. Come on.
Yeah, right. It's at D3 wounds.
What more do you need?
Yeah, multiple damages. Woo.
I mean, that'd be good in this game.
It would be.
So good. Moving on, we have this here. I found this slide on Facebook. I have the Dark Tide limited edition LP sealed. If anyone is interested in making a trade, I'm into Necrons. Danny, define into Necrons.
Well, I mean, it could mean a couple of different things. I mean, it could mean something similar to our mega spooky counter down there.
Heck yeah.
It could be it could be that you just really like the Necron race, or you could just like kind of the general spookiness that you would find with the Satan shards over the course of the game. You know, like they're kind of that eldritch horror kind of vibe.
True.
So,
Mhm.
yeah.
What amount of Necrons would be equivalent to the Dark Tide limited edition LP sealed?
Now, are we talking about an LP as in a long playing record, as in like the soundtrack to Dark Tide?
I believe so.
Wow.
Which, I'm going to blow your mind, is actually available on Spotify and YouTube.
Huh. This reminds me of a line from Half Baked. How much for a Kenny Loggins record? And he says, I'll give you $5 for it. And she says, it's signed. And he says, I'll give you $4.
If it's unopened, how do I know if it even plays?
Right?
Good movie.
Let alone long.
Yeah.
Sure. Who knows?
I don't know, man.
Yeah.
I could have like a squad. Like legitimately, like almost any amount of Warhammer would be worth more than a CD.
Yeah. What's the MSRP on that CD, John?
Oh, Christ. I don't do research for this show. Come on now.
All right. Well, then never mind.
Okay,
I'm going to say that this is
keep-
equivalent to one box of Necrons of some type. I would say probably, if I were going to choose, it would be something shitty that no one wants. So like,
Yeah,
I
this
would
is
say
an actual
for
record.
Praetorians, but
Deluxe triple vinyl, everybody.
I searched for Dark Tide limited edition LP on eBay.
$50. Someone in chat
$50.
$50.
$50.
But it came up with the limited edition Yeezus 12-inch record for $196.
I
Which
would
don't think
pay
is right.
$25 for that, I think.
You would get all of the characters from the starter box from last year or last edition.
Also, I'm immediately shocked that Black Library is not publishing like vinyl LPs of their books on tape. Like,
Jonathan Keeble
this
would
is
make a fantastic 6-disc set.
The 43 record collection of the Solar Wars.
They come out with a limited edition.
A whole trunk. Like it's unbelievable. It's an unbelievable amount of records. Yeah.
I mean, you just have like the Jason Bateman, like talking, or not Jason Bateman, but like the guy from American Psycho describing the Horus Heresy records as he like sets it up. Quality. This one is a little bit of an Ahsoka thing that I love. Sepulchre of Heroes, back at it. And he's like, I missed the idea of it. Good old Balin, who please recast him. His story needs to go on. But I missed the idea of it with a picture of facing, but not the truth, the weakness, which is you just being in front facing instead of side facing. But Danny, you are someone who's faced a lot. What are some of your most painful facing memories when it comes to vehicle? Again, we're talking about how back in the day, the vehicles had different facings and you had to be able to see it to shoot it.
John, I'm going to be honest with you. I abused the fuck out of the system, and so I used it all. I used it all the time. I've killed an obscene amount of tanks by shooting their back armor, by like having warp spiders jump behind them, or
I dropped so many lictors behind tanks.
Yeah,
infinitely jumping
Have you ever
warp
killed one
spiders
with
as well.
flash hooks?
Oh yeah, dude, it's very satisfying. They get so annoyed.
Yeah.
I think Horus Heresy 2.0 got rid of facings as well. So I mean, if even the Horus Heresy, no, they didn't. They got rid of walkers. They got rid of something.
Yeah, they got walkers are now more like
big people,
monstrous creatures.
Yeah.
Okay, but they still have
Nurgle
facings.
Matthew coming in with the
Walkers
spookiest of
don't.
comments.
No, I mean like vehicles have it. Like there's
Yes.
still a vehicle system. They didn't go all toughness.
Love to
Nope.
Got it. Cool. My bad.
Nurgle Matthew coming in with his spooky little comment said, and he loves destroying back armor, which giggity. Good for you. Good for you, sir. We're going to skip forward here a couple, and we're going to talk about kind of the main thing I want to talk about tonight. This slide I kind of found, this is slide 19 if you're following along at home, or if you're a malign producer who told me that they're about to go on vacation, so I made this a very difficult show to produce.
Yeah, it's really good today.
We said I purchased my first White Dwarf yesterday for over 20 years. So sad. It's really thin, horrible newspaper type pages now. Used to be a nice, thicker, glossy quality, a proper magazine. So guys, I kind of want to talk a little bit about White Dwarf. White Dwarf has been around longer than Warhammer. It's seen many changes over the year. In its current iteration, it's headed by editor Lyle Lowry, who's had it since 2018.
All right.
I've seen many different formats over the last 45 years, including a god-awful weekly publication that lasted 2.5 years. Do you guys remember that lasting for 2.5 years?
I didn't.
It's time to step into.
Oh, Dickie.
Wow.
Okay. Wow.
Oh, Dickie, just straight up.
He
Just
is
getting rid of
glitching
it.
I know
out.
you want to
He
go
is
on vacation,
glitching out.
dude, but we have to finish the show first.
So today I kind of want to touch on sort of our memories of White Dwarf, what we expected from White Dwarf back in the day, what we expect now, what place it has in the hobby, and if the day of print media magazine should end for Games Workshop. So talking about both of you guys here, or everyone involved, what are some of your earliest or most nostalgic memories sort of reading White Dwarf?
I certainly loved it. Like I remember like there are a lot of iconic issues that I had because I did buy it quite frequently as a wee lad or a tween lad. Like the Battle for Big Tooth River sticks out in my head, which had a Bane blade that they had scratch built out of plastic card in it. It's where the Praetorians first appeared, who were now that I'm thinking about it, it was just a recreation of basically the recreation of Zulu, featuring orcs instead of African warriors.
Oh, that's quite troubling in 2023.
So my chain's gonna come off my bicycle as I backpedal this, but nonetheless, they're like, I don't know, it was like filled with really cool, evocative stuff. And I think the reboot of White Dwarf has really worked to try and bring that sort of sense back. I subscribed for a while. Always appreciated that it came in the Penthouse magazine double blind cover so that my mailman didn't know that I was ordering White Dwarf. That was really nice. But I did find myself letting them pile up, and I rarely even thumbed through them, which was a bit of a bummer.
Danny, what about... Sorry.
And I would also say that it's also a bit tricky because it tries to cover every system a little bit, every issue. And so as a result, there's for any one reader, I feel like probably only a small amount of content that they really care about. So it's a tricky thing.
Yeah. So Danny, what about you? What are some of your early kind of White Dwarf memories or kind of some nostalgia from there?
Yeah, I've got a bunch. The Index Astartes articles were really cool. I remember being in high school, and that was like the one thing my parents would buy for me was they wouldn't buy me miniatures, but they would buy me a subscription to White Dwarf.
Get you all riled up.
And I was excited. So whenever I got to read those magazines, my favorite article, I think, is I loved it when they brought in people's armies that weren't like the studio armies.
Oh yeah.
And this guy has this army that's like all Goblin Wolf Riders versus High Elves, and it's like 100 Goblin Wolf Riders versus like 50 High Elves. And like it was a really fun and cool battle report. The guy's army looked really fantastic. And it was just like stuff you didn't see like in kind of media, because there wasn't like a way for you to go read battle reports really unless you were like on a forum.
Right.
Because that stuff didn't exist yet. So I don't know. It was
there was I remember like from that there was like just non-studio armies getting showcased was like really cool. And I remember one that really stands out to me. There was this Valhallan Imperial Guard army that I remember that had like the I don't know if you've ever seen like old Soviet tanks when they were whitewashed. It was just like basically like unpainted steel with like whitewashing on it, and he had done the sort of the like matte steel underneath it with like these like really ugly welds, and it was kind of taking like a scale model approach to painting GW stuff. And I remember I stared at those tanks for like so long because I just thought it was the coolest look ever. And like when Gorka Morka came out, a lot of like the kit bashing around like orc stuff and orc vehicles was kind of like Adrian. I can't remember his name, but anyway,
the Grand War Boss.
Yeah.
I know exactly who you're talking. Picture his face in my mind. Yeah.
Also, yeah, all the old guard and their original photos are incredible. Like Gav Thorpe's like byline photo, he looks like an absolute animal. It's hilarious. Andy Chambers is a lunatic in those photos.
He went from ponytail to like the crazy high hair. Crazy time.
And then they kind of did like a cleanup around like the early 2000s where they tried to make it a little bit more professional. Like they got rid of all the 80s or the 90s like rock and roll haircuts. Like you had Fat Bloke, who was the editor.
Paul Jarvis.
That's right.
You remember? Yeah. I will say so.
Fat Bloke.
Like some of my favorite things about White Dwarf was kind of following the personalities that were highlighted within. So you like say Gav Thorpe sort of got to start in there. Yeah, Jake Johnson, I think, was another person in there. And like Paul Sawyer was another that you had. And you also had Jess Goodwin coming through with a bunch of articles. And a lot of kind of my early knowledge of Games Workshop and kind of the painters, the designers. Mike McVeigh had all of his like dioramas sort of in there. Came from this magazine being kind of like a highlight of the hobby and of their work. Do you guys feel that it's with the modern trend of moving away from crediting creators, which is kind of something that Games Workshop has moved away from doing quite a bit, has affected White Dwarf in a pretty negative way? Or do you think it's something they've managed to work around?
As like not an avid reader of the most modern publication, like it's been years since I subscribed. I think I subscribed when they rebooted it for probably 2 years and then I've let it go. But I mean, in general, I mean, like just like, aside from whether or not it's limiting the magazine at all, like we're naming, like some pretty key creators and personalities, many of which have gone on to have success outside of Games Workshop at better paying jobs. Mm-hmm. But they, like they were people who, like, I looked forward to Andy Chambers chapter approve articles.
Oh yeah,
like I thought Gav Thorpe was cool because he looked like a nutcase in his photo. Like it gave that parasocial quality to what otherwise would have been a very faceless organization that made cool stuff. It personalized it by knowing who they were. So whether or not they can retain talent, I think is besides the point. When actually putting names and faces to the people who make the really cool stuff that come out of GW is, I think, nothing but an asset to them. And I think it's unfortunate if they don't highlight it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think something I've subscribed for the past 2 or 3 years to White Dwarf. I think the problem I have with it, and something because it came the other day, and that's kind of what made me think about that this is a topic, is Val, I think I do very similar to what you did when you subscribed, was I'll open it, I'll flick through it once, and then it just kind of goes on the shelf. And Danny, I don't know, like, because I think do you buy White Dwarf still?
I would read that book for that magazine for an entire month, like every morning when I would wake up
as a kid,
like while I was eating breakfast, I would read I would read White Dwarf.
Well, I think like when I was younger as well, the great thing about White Dwarf is it was like 6-7 pound or whatever it was in the UK at the time when I bought it. Like I could afford a White Dwarf. I could save up and get a White Dwarf. I couldn't get a model kit the whole time. So I was able to kind of live vicariously through the hobby. Do you guys feel as your earning power has sort of gone up and you're able to financially maybe support the model side of the hobby a little bit more, that might be one of the reasons that your consumption of White Dwarf has gone down?
Yeah, that's possible, I guess. Or I'm not a child.
So, I mean, is it something you should be like aiming at the younger market of getting in?
Well, no, because kids, because like I think really the bigger thing is that like for me, like when I got back into 40K, like way back in like, what was that, 2015. I didn't really have a lot. Like I hadn't been playing in tournaments. I hadn't developed a big group of friends who played it. I had like one older friend who I sheepishly like was like, "Hey man, I kind of want to play 40K," and he was like, "I'm in." Like so there was like two of us, right? The other two guys who I played with in my teens were like, "You guys are dumb." They were wrong. We were awesome. But like I use podcasts. So like podcasts was what replaced White Dwarf for me in that ability to interact or like engage with, other people doing this. I think that's kind of what White Dwarf was about, was like, look at all the cool things you can do. Look at all these people doing cool things with this, like this hobby. And I think that's what it is, about capturing that imagination and making you like see that other folks are doing it. Now we have things like YouTube. We have podcasts. There's the Chinese one. So like there's all kinds of, what is that? TikTok. There you go.
Oh yeah. Okay.
It's very spooky, that TikTok.
I will say all of their servers are located in America and are quite secure.
I just want everyone to I really want to own that one. That was a racist double entendre that I just did about TikTok. That was the only truly racist use of spooky today so far.
Yeah. So Danny, like I think we talked about it. Do you think so? The future of print media, obviously, print media not in a great place right now in general. Do you think there's still a place for White Dwarf as a printed publication going forward?
No, I don't, John. And I don't, because I think that effort should be re-expanded, and I think they're doing this. I think you can see kind of their actions moving towards Warhammer Plus as kind of being that gap filler for this kind of information that they're trying to disseminate. And they get virtually kind of the same kind of business model here. It's a payment for some interaction, although now it's a monthly service, and when you stop paying, you lose access to all the stuff that you had, whereas with books and magazines and that kind of stuff, you could read those magazines for years if you wanted to. Yeah.
I will say they do a lot for engagement now in White Dwarf. And again, I don't think I'm the target audience for it, but they do things like the Tale of Warlords. Like they have the bunker now where all readers can participate, and there's like little like cards and things you can do for following along, and kind of the similar way that we set up our old podcast anywhere. Like there's like the open table like chair for the listener, because they're a part of it and they get to kind of join in. Sorry, Val, you were saying.
I would say that like if you look at something like Warhammer Community, which is a very, very successful marketing endeavor by them. There's no reason why the quality of article and content that is produced by White Dwarf shouldn't be what Warhammer Community is. And that should just be something that they're using as a way of marketing the game. Because I don't know about you guys, I used to have a number of magazines that I regularly purchased, and I would have in my pocket, and I'd take on the bus with me, and I would, I'd read all sorts of different. I read the newspaper, but I don't anymore because I have a cell phone, obviously, and like no one's reading magazines because they hate magazines, because it was replaced by a superior medium. So I think the future of White Dwarf should be Warhammer Community, but they want to charge people to buy a piece of paper, which is just ass backwards to me.
I want to see a Warhammer app that is just Warhammer Community, free content, plus White Dwarf articles, paid content.
Yeah, like you could, like if Warhammer Community had like a subscriber option that was like part of your Warhammer Plus thing, and that's where the White Dwarf content went, that would be great. I think that would, like, everyone would be like, hey, that's an actually good idea. And the fact that they're trying to keep that particular form of print alive is strange.
Yeah. I just want to touch on it because, like I said, I feel White Dwarf is sort of a unique case where it's like I enjoy getting it every month. I enjoy the 20 minutes I thumb through it. That I'm sad I put it away. I feel there's a lot of talent on the crew that produced the magazine currently. But there's got to be a better way, guys, to getting out of there. Like I said, like a White Dwarf podcast. Like just make it premium community articles. Like I would pay for this. I already pay for your White Dwarf subscription. But anyway, we went a little bit serious there. So before we leave for the night, I want to kind of pull up the one listener question I pulled up from Mark M, who's in chat right now, so it's even better. Just to get back onto the quality thing, marry, fuck, kill, Boo Berry, Count Chocula, Frankenberry.
Easy.
Okay.
It's Count Chocula, and then Frankenberry, and then Booberry can die in every fire.
As a Canadian, I'm only really familiar with Count Chocula.
I know I don't know the other two.
Terrible. They're not good. That's why.
Can you explain what Booberry is to me? Maybe
It's
I
a
can.
ghost. It's spooky.
Is it
It's
spooky?
spooky cereal, Dickie.
Oh, you son of a bitch!
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
I'm gonna go with I'm probably gonna marry the Count. I don't got anything else other than that.
Mark Murphy coming in saying Booberry is just blueberry. I think the boo is a spooky pun to make it like blueberry instead of Booberry. Ooh.
And all these are sugared cereals with marshmallows.
I think the important thing to remember that Frankenberry, truly, it's the machine in the factory that makes it that is the monster, and not Frankenberry.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Thank you for the sympathy chuckle, Dickie. Appreciate it. Guys, before we sign out for the week on this very serious note, anything that you want to touch on? Is there maybe any 8th edition fantasy tournaments happening at Thanksgiving weekend in Eastern Canada we want to talk about?
Just that, Dickie, this would be a great place to go back to the main studio. Not just me.
No, just him this whole time.
It's your face.
Okay, fine. I'm really excited for the Warhammer Fantasy Tournament that's coming up. I don't know if you guys are doing anything cool like that, but I am. And Dickie wants to play dwarves, and then I said, okay, fine, play dwarves. And then he's like, well, I don't know. Maybe what? Do you want me to play dwarves? And then I was like, I just want you to play something you want to play.
I know. I felt like you were like, I don't want you to play dwarves. That's
well, at first, because a lot of people who are, but then like your alternative to that was like, oh, I'll just play Bretonians, which is like saying, I would like to drive this Tesla Model 3 that basically drives itself. No, actually, instead of that, I would like to drive this steam-powered horseless carriage that requires arcane knowledge and skill to even get it to move.
Yeah. So what Val's telling you is, if you've never played 8th edition fantasy, just take dwarfs. Show up at his tournament.
You don't have to worry about movement.
Yeah.
You get to shoot a lot. You don't have to worry about magic. It's pretty easy.
Take a projector. Sponsored by Army Painter.
Yep.
Awesome.
Fantastic.
Danny, do you have a fantasy tournament at the Mini Wargaming Bunker Thanksgiving weekend in America?
No,
you want
I don't.
No.
It's not our Thanksgiving.
He's very mad about it.
Dual streams
I'm not happy.
from the mountain and the Honest Wargamer that Val confirmed at the start of the episode.
I mean, he did a lot of name dropping. So
He has better fantasy names. So he hasn't even dropped all of them.
like which one?
We have
Adam Spookalary.
we have the good doctor Luke Blaxel, who makes some of my favorite like 8th ed fantasy stuff.
I'm so excited.
Oh yeah, I had questions. I had some questions. So are you guys
I also made
grade
contact with Once Bitten 360 and Mr. Malorian. And I've been chatting with them.
Up those names.
Nope, those guys are like OG, like competitive fantasy tournament. Competitive fantasy content creators on YouTube, who are fantastic guys. Anyways, go ahead.
He's in North Carolina, or he was in the Carolinas, I think.
He was. I think he lives in Europe now, so that's why he's not willing to make that. And it felt like Mr. Malorian, like that guy who's a Canadian, he lives in Edmonton, was open to coming, but he was I think hoping that the other guy would enable him to do it. But I think if I leaned on Mr. Malorian a little bit, I think it maybe
the other guy is currently in the old world. Literally.
He's in the literal old world.
Europe, yeah. Well, beautiful. Well,
hopefully it doesn't stick around too long. It doesn't end well.
Well, we are in the end times of the world. Yeah. But thank you everyone for joining us here in Grim After Dark. You can find all of our socials and way to support us at grimafterdark.com. We're going to be back next Monday live at 10 p.m. Eastern-ish. The strong emphasis on ish. And if you
produced by Val, definitely ish.
If you can't catch us live, Check the recordings available between 9 and 5 p.m. on YouTube. Remember, when your life feels like a never-ending siege and things can't get any worse, join us here and remember that it's always grim after dark.
It's time to step into the grim darkness with nerds gather talking Warhammer madness. Grim After Dark, the podcast with the hosts John, Danny, and Val, but they're not the most. Claiming to be experts, but it's all a facade. Talking about battles and dice rolls, they're all odd. Trying to sound cool with their Warhammer talk, but I'm here to expose. It's all just squawk. Nerds, everywhere I see talking Warhammer this, like it's a decree. But let me tell you, homie, it is all just a game. In the real world, homie, we are not the same. So put down the dice, step out of the dark. It's time to live life, nerd, make your own mark. Grim After Dark, the nerds playground. Talking Warhammer this, acting all profound. But when I listen, it's all just a bunch of noise. I love roasting nerds and their stupid ass toys. Stupid ass toys, I wanna grab them, put my hands around the neck, squeeze, Warhammer squeeze, until they can't breathe or breathe again. Tell a friend, I'm out here roasting nerds again.